Hey guys, so I'm working on my sweet little penguins here. Sweet holiday penguins. I'm making my first set of 10 to sell. Here's an example of one, and I'm going to make the last one here with you guys. And they're all a little different. They're the same, they have the same theme, but they're all a little different. So I'm going to show you how I did this. At first, I did color all these penguins, and I made a couple different cards with them. And then I was going to use some little elves that I had, and I colored out 20 elves and decided I like the penguins better on this card. Now this chimney, I'm going to show you real quick before we start with the card. I did it with regular distress ink. I'll show you the difference here. This is Distress Oxide, and I used fired brick and candied apple because I did not have barn door, and the color makes a little bit of a difference. This one is regular distress ink, that's oxide, and this one is barn door and fired brick. Aside from barn door and candied apple being two different color reds, I mean, you can still tell they're both done on Nina. I mean, this one blends so much better, but honestly, this was the look I was going for. So I used the regular distress ink. Making your brick, I was gonna do this with you guys, but I want to keep this a fairly short video. I used this stamp, and I'll show you one of my examples. I got this from scrapbookpal.com as a free gift with an order. And I think this is actually the first time I've ever used it. So after I cut these into rectangles, I went over the edges with a little bit of aged mahogany, and then I used this stamp with my Simon Says Stamp embossing ink, and then I used potting soil embossing powder by Ranger to heat emboss the bricks. But you could do this any way you want. You could go with the oxide blending if you like that better. You could, my size of my chimneys went depending on where the stamp landed. So I think I stamped 2 across, and then I stamped 2 on the side. So all my chimneys are a little different, but that's fine. They don't need to be exactly the same. You could also, I tried a couple examples using this Tim Holtz brick stencil that I have, and that's right here, and I stenciled it in with aged mahogany instead of doing the heat embossing. But I was thinking if you still wanted a heat emboss, you could go over those empty spaces afterwards with a Versamark pen and then do the same thing I did with this. You could even just draw your lines in. It doesn't have to be a stencil or a stamp. Bricks are fairly easy to do. I'll just use this real quick. Draw it in with pencil. I mean, when I was a kid, I used to draw brick all the time on my houses. I mean, of course, this is just, my lines aren't straight, but you guys could use a ruler. I just wanted to show you that you don't need the stamp or the stencil to do this. You just stagger your lines. And then you could go over that with, like I said, a Versamark pen and heat embossing powder. Or you could brush it in with a watercolor brush, a different color brush, and still use the distress inks or oxides with a little bit of water. I mean, you could do it so many different ways, but there's some brick right there. So they all serve the same purpose. I also wanted to give you guys a tip. This is the one we're going to be using. I don't know. I look at this one and it seems okay 1 minute, and it looks okay on the camera. And then the next minute it looks a little too orange for me, but I'm going to show you what I did. But the first time I did all these, I had went over them directly. Let me get some of this out of the way. With this Snowdrift stencil that came in the Stamped Timber kit that was made by Tim Holtz and Simon Says Stamp and Stampers Anonymous. And I went right over the bricks. I just traced a little line with pencil. I used my texture. Oh no, I didn't trace it. I used my texture paste, and then I went over it with Nouveau Glitter Accents Fresh Snowfall. The problem was when it dried, not me, myself, not thinking about the Distress inks. When it dried, it started to turn orange and red and started picking up the colors of the Distress ink. So I cut that all off because I had made longer, wider chimneys, and I started over. So the second time, I put some Distress glaze on my chimneys before I went any further to protect the Distress ink. And see, I already used too much. You do not need that much, but this has to be done to this one anyway, so I might as well do it now. But then, as an extra precaution, because I wasn't sure if that was going to be enough, that's supposed to keep it from being, you know, further affected by water, which I've never had a problem before. It's always worked for me, but I don't know, after having to redo 10 chimneys, I just wasn't willing to take the chance. So I took a piece of watercolor paper and I took my Snowdrift and the size of my chimney and I stuck it up the paper for as far as I wanted the Snowdrift's lowest point to be, and just traced out that top edge of my chimney and used whatever part of the Snowdrift stencil I wanted. And then I changed it to be appropriate for the way I wanted it. That's another thing I wanted to tell you guys. You guys, not a lot of you may have this stencil because it was exclusive to that Stamped Timber set. So, I mean, you could freehand this. It's very easy. It's just some drips and drops, and I was going to sketch it out on the other side just to show you. So if that's the top of my chimney, let's just say without the Snowdrift stencil, I would probably do something like that. So you can do it without the stencil. I just liked the way the stencil was, and it was easier to just trace and not pay attention as much to what I was doing. So here's that. So we're going to prepare that real quick while I'm talking to you guys. I just took my Fresh Snowfall glitter accents. You could use anything. You could use, I have some glitter glue here I got from Walmart. I did try that on a couple pieces before I realized my mistake with the leaking Distress ink. You could use glimmer paste. You can use anything you want. I could have used the texture paste again, but I didn't want to wait for it to dry because I was already so far behind. I did, however, lightly go over my pencil lines because I didn't want any color leaking into my Nouveau glitter accents, and I also didn't want any showing through. So I can still see it, but just barely. I'll show you after and I just outlined it with whatever product you're going to use, and then I filled it in, kind of like putting glossy accents or Nouveau crystal glaze onto an item. I mean, at least that's how I do it. This technique works really well with that Hero Arts lacquer pen, because that lacquer pen, whatever's the properties are of that particular glossy item, it tends to stay where you put it. So I usually outline my item and then fill it in. So there's that. I'm gonna let that dry. I'll show you guys though. So we're gonna let that dry, and that's gonna be for this chimney. Now, like I said, one minute I look at this and it's okay, the next minute it looks too orangey to me. And I don't think you guys can see it on the camera, but when I put it up to, like, say the example, you can most definitely see the difference. And this does not look like fresh snowfall anymore. So we're not going to use that. I'm going to show you, we're going to do the inside of this card first. I did 5 cards on blue cardstock and 5 cards for this set on white cardstock. I'm also going to talk about the background real quick. It's just a piece of pattern paper that I got from Joann's last year. I had 2 sheets of it and I wanted to make sure that it would fit for 10 cards. So I cut each of these for the 10 cards to be 3 3/4. 3 3/4. I had it written down. I thought it was on all of them. Sorry, guys. 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And then I had enough to do 5 from each sheet. Actually, 6 from each sheet. It was a 12 by 12 piece of pattern paper. But you don't need pattern paper. I did it because I knew I had it and it was easier. You could distress oxide or regular ink, blend the background, and use your snowflake stamps from Hero Arts kit last month. You could do the background any way you want. So because back to what I was saying, because 5 of the cardstocks were dark blue, I cut a piece of 60-pound Neenah, and this is cut at 5 by 3 3/4. So we're going to stamp this for the inside real quick. And we're going to use Sending Holiday Cheer. And that's going to go right in the center. Now, I did this for the other cards and I had no problem using an acrylic block rather than my Misty. So we'll see. You guys, you know how my luck goes if you've ever watched some of my videos. So we'll see what happens. I don't normally put insides in my cards, but when I'm selling Christmas cards, sets of Christmas cards, I always do the inside. Just want to clean this off real quick. It's getting late, but I missed you guys, and we've been sick back and forth, and I wanted to make sure that I started getting these Christmas card videos out because I'd like to show you guys, you know, different Christmas cards to do for the season before it's too late to send your cards out. I mean, I don't know if you can hear my voice, but I just finished my last antibiotic 2 days ago, and I already feel like I'm losing my voice and getting sick again. I'm like totally terrified about this winter. It hasn't even started yet. I'm also going to use these little stars that came with the penguins, and we're going to do the corners. And I'm not being very specific. I'm just placing it kitty corner and stamping it down. Making sure the whole stamp fits in the corner. So there's that. I did a lot of talking in the beginning. I'm so sorry about that, guys, but I wanted to make sure that I gave you different options for the background, different options for the chimneys, because not everybody has that brick stamp. Not everybody has a brick stencil. I just wanted to make sure that you guys had other ways that you could still do this card if you didn't have the same supplies that I had. Alright, so we're going to tape that in there real quick. I don't want to have to worry about the inside when I'm waiting for stuff on the outside to dry. And I had to break out the big ATG gun because I ran out of my small tape runners because the girls have been making Christmas cards with me. I'll show you some at the end. In the next Christmas video, I think I'm going to do a giveaway. So make sure you're on the lookout for that. And I'm just going to put a little period at the end of that. Alright, so now we're going to work on the front. Because this is blue on blue, even though they're two different shades, I still wanted something to differentiate between the two blues. But I also wanted a matte for my snowflakes. So we're going to take the Hero Arts Unicorn White ink and a sponge dauber. And if you're wondering, on the white base, card bases with the blue matte, I did Blueprint Sketch Distress Oxide around the edge of that blue matte. And we're not going very far in here. I just wanted it a little bit. Most of it's going on the glass mat. I mean, that's how little I'm putting on the edge of the cardstock itself. Jax is finally starting to get a little bit better. And Riley's cough is just finally starting to wind down. And I already have several ideas for the next set of cards. I will show you the other two penguin cards that I made with this stamp set. Lindsay made a card also with it. In fact, she wants me to give it away to a runner-up of my next giveaway. I thought that was too cute. I can't remember if I showed you guys the card or not. I don't think I did. Both Lindsay and Riley were up making cards tonight because there's no school tomorrow. I enjoy making cards with the girls. I just wish I had a bigger workspace. So I end up having to have them work at the dining room table, and then of course it's a disaster afterwards. Alright, so I've got that edge on there, and I'm just gonna clean that white ink up off my glass mat so I don't get my card into it. As you can tell, I never work off to the side. I usually set what I'm using off to the side and make a mess of my main work surface. I'm just going to throw a little bit of alcohol hand sanitizer down and clean it up. Also, I did 2 different sentiments for the inside. On the blue cards, I did that sending holiday cheer. And on the white card bases, I did another sentiment in here that says, "You bring me joy." I thought that one was cute too. Alright, so we've got that. I'm just going to dry it real quick so I don't rub off the ink when I'm putting other elements onto the card. It's not going to be totally dry, but it'll be dry enough to touch without leaning too heavily on it. All right. Now we're gonna tape our snowflake background on. Now this hill, I bought some Doodlebug glitter, 12 by 12 glitter cardstock at Hobby Lobby, and I just cut it into my own hills. You can either put it on beforehand or you can put it on after. If it's too big for your background, you might want to put it on before, but I matched mine up and cut them so that they would all be the right size. So I'm going to put it on after I put it on the cardstock because this paper is so flimsy. Now, of course, if you ink blended a background onto some Nina or Bristol cardstock, then your background's not going to be too flimsy. But this is just a piece of pattern paper. There's like no stability to it whatsoever. I mean, it's even bending when I use the ATG gun on it. Trying to grab it without ripping the paper. There we go. I guess that's where nails would come in handy, but I find I can't craft with nails. I always have to cut my nails. All right. So I did ripple the paper a little bit there. I'll just put that down by where the hill's gonna cover it. And this blue mat, I cut them to be slightly bigger than the background. Enough so they would be about 1/8 of an inch on each side. So if the background was 3 3/4 by 5, then it was 4 by 5 1/4. Was the blue mat. And there we go, there's our background. And we're gonna go ahead and put that right on the card because nothing's being popped up on these except for maybe a couple penguins. Makes it easier to mail when there's not too much. I like to have dimension on the cards, but if I know that they're being delivered in a mailbox or going postal service, I like to try to make sure they're not too heavy or have too much thickness because then you're just paying for special postage. Trust me, I know because I did it last year. That was a lot of money and a lot of cards. And I can already tell it was slightly off center, but it doesn't look too bad. Doesn't look bad at all. Maybe it's not. Okay, so before I put that hill on, I'm going to take my Nuvo glitter gloss pen and I'm just going to glitterize. Can we call that a word? Glitterize some of these snowflakes in the background so that they sparkle when you're looking at the card. And I'm not, I mean, they're so little and delicate. I'm just swirling a circle of the glitter pen over them. I'm not like trying to trace any detail. Sorry, I'm quiet sometimes because they're sick. I need to make sure I can hear them. Jax has been crying every once in a while. Riley's out in the living room because it's not a school night, so she passed out on the couch. That's our deal. She sleeps in bed, and if my head's in the way, I apologize. I'm trying not to get too close. She sleeps in bed on school nights, and we let her sleep wherever she wants on the weekends. This isn't going to be popped up or anything. I know my chimney is not finished yet, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and line it up, grab a pencil, and about where I think it's going to be tucked into the rooftop, because this is going to be our rooftop, a snow-covered rooftop. I'm going to put 2 lines on, or 2 dots on either side. And you can use just a regular ruler for this. I'm going to use my media ruler here to make sure I draw this line straight from dot to dot. And I'm not drawing a line. I don't know why I picked up the pencil. What I should be picking up is my X-Acto knife, because I'm just going to draw a straight slit from one dot to the other dot. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be a certain width from the bottom, a certain width from the top. It just has to be wide enough to slip your chimney in there. So now I've got that slit. And I'm going to stick this in there. Now I've already stamped out and colored my penguins and stuff, as you can see. Well, you might not be able to see. I have little penguins here off to the side. I would love to color with you guys, but unfortunately, until I can get those pictures off my phone so I can edit on the iPad, it's going to be virtually impossible to make, to not make these longer videos. I colored them with my Copics. I did do some of them with Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers, but I used those already. And I put a little bit of stickles on their little pom-poms. If you guys are interested in the markers I used, I can let you know down below. Just let me know. If you comment, I will comment and let you know what markers I used, like on the penguins themselves, all the little presents and stuff. I'm not going to remember every color I used, but I do know what colors I used on the penguins, on their cheeks, and on their hats and the wreath. Okay, so that fits in there. I'm going to take it back out real quick. I'm going to add a little line of tape parallel to that line I cut on the bottom of the snow hill. So there's the top of our snow hill. I put tape along the bottom because we're going to stick this back in here. Now this is the part where you want to make sure, is that too tall for your liking, your chimney? Because right now would be the time where you adjust it. If it's too tall for you, then you want to move this down some and trim off whatever excess from the bottom of your hill. And I think I'm going to go with that. So there's that. It's hard to talk and do this stuff at the same time. It's not like I'm doing a voiceover. Sometimes I distract myself, guys. Okay. So that's in there. And yes, I realize we don't have our top on there yet, but it's not quite dry. I am going to put a piece of foam tape under here. Well, more than one, because I want it to go almost all the way across. Because I did want this part of the chimney to pop out a little for whoever we put behind there. And give the card a little tiny bit of dimension. So this is one of the only things I popped up. And then a couple penguins. Maybe no penguins. It depended on the card and their placement. So that's done. Now I'm going to adhere my hill or my rooftop to my background. And I'm going to use the tape runner again. It's squeaky, guys. It's a squeaky cheese wheel. Alright. I'm just going to line this up with the edges of my background. And the bottom. Alright, so now my rooftop is on there. And when I first cut those, I was like, is it really going to look like a rooftop? By the time we get done, it will. Because honestly, who's looking for a slope on the top of the house? You're looking at the chimney and what's coming out of it and going into it. And I think this card turned out really cute. I'm really happy with it. So now we're going to look for our placement while we wait for our little snowdrift there to dry and what we're going to use. And I really like this little guy because he could be walking on ice. He could be sliding down the chimney, the fireplace, the roof. I like this little guy with the, I think we'll go with the green and yellow scarf. I did a couple of the cards where he was out of the, or coming out of the chimney, but I think we're gonna put him there. And him there. No, I think he's gonna be in there. And then we're gonna use these cute little guys right here. Just one of them. All right. So that's gonna be here. And I'm just gonna put a little bit of glitter pen in between that ribbon loop because it's on the glitter rooftop and those things are so tiny. I did try to cut them out of a couple, but let me tell you, it was not a fun experience. All right, so we're gonna glue this guy down first. He was super easy. I just used my two-way chisel tip glue pen from Zig. I made sure I loaded him up so he wouldn't dry before I got him up there because I don't want it to be temporary. I want it to be permanent adhesive. Okay. So we're gonna go right about there. All right, we're gonna hold him down real quick. And then this guy's gonna go on with regular glue. My Nouveau glue. I don't know what's going on with this tip lately. It never used to clog. All right, there we go. The reason I use the glue with him or anything that's on that glitter paper is because I just don't trust that two-way glue pen to stick on the glitter paper. Glitter paper's funny that way. So here's another guy going on right here, and he is not going to be popped up. He's fine where he is. All right. This guy should be good enough. I'm going to cover him up. And I'm going to release this piece, these pieces of foam tape on the back now that I have my guide glued in there. Sorry for my hands. Can I get that out of there? All right, there we go. So there's him, waiting for his little snowdrift top. And then we're going to glue this present down also with a little bit of the Nouveau glue. But that little butt baby there, he's gonna, in the little gift box, he's gonna be popped up with some foam tape. So where are my little tweezers here? I love these things. I don't know how many of you use these Eek tweezer tool, but I love them. All right, so now he needs to be, but I want to make sure I wipe that glue off. I don't want it ruining that Distress ink, even though I protected it. All right. Put this away. I'm gonna get out my small fine tip two-way glue pen for my sentiment. And I'm gonna move these guys out of the way. And what was I looking for? Foam tape. Right now I'm using the Dollar Store Dollar Tree foam tape. I love this stuff. Thank you to Mary for telling me about it. And then we have our cute little guy almost ready to go now. Oh, where'd it go? Guys, there it is. I was gonna say, I just had this tiny little piece of foam tape and it flew right off my finger and I couldn't find it. All right, let's see here. All right, so this guy's gonna go on. Now, I am going to put some more of that Glitter Accents Nouveau Fresh Snowfall drops on at the very end. But if you know where you're putting your snow and you don't need shadows, by all means, don't do the shadows. But because I know I'm not putting snow everywhere, I'm going to grab my IG4 marker from Spectrum Noir. And I'm just going to give it a little bit of shadow to these presents here and to my little penguin. And it's done. I'll give you a close-up of that. You can just see the shadow there. All right. So now we've got the sentiment, Merry Christmas, and I cut that out of red foil cardstock that I picked up at the sale at Joann's when they were doing all that open stock paper. I have my little eye dot too, but I don't need that just yet. And this is a die I got from my Christmas haul at Simon Says Stamp by, who made this die? Oh my goodness, Memory Box. Perky Christmas script. Merry Christmas Perky script, I'm sorry. So that's the die I used to cut that sentiment out. So now I know where I'm going to place it, so I'm going to put my glue on real quick. And I usually load the sucker up to make sure it doesn't dry before I place it. Granted, I get a lot of glue on the glass mat, but it's easily cleanable. I don't know about you guys. Usually I don't start this early, but I have already started watching Christmas movies. I already have a radio station in my city that's already playing Christmas music. I'm already seeing deals for Black Friday. Just couldn't wait this year. It seems like Black Friday and Christmas come to us earlier and earlier every single year. It's like unreal sometimes. I'm already dreading going out on Black Friday. But for the past 5 years, I've done it. Never did it before in my life, aside from these past 5 years. I discovered no matter what a pain in the butt it is, it's well worth it for me and the amount of people I have to buy for and the amount of kids I have to go Black Friday shopping. And that's not even going for all the big sales that everybody wants. That's just going and looking at the sales that people have in the stores. You know, you can still get good deals even if you're not fighting people for a limited amount of supply of something. I think once I spent at, I don't know if you guys know Claire's. You know, it's got all that cute little girl stuff in it. I went there the first time I went Black Friday shopping, and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and they were having a clearance sale. They were already having a clearance sale, and then it was buy 2 clearance, get 3 free, plus the percentage off that they had for the Black Friday sale. And I ended up paying $11 for $225 worth of product or something like that. I mean, it was such an obscene amount, I could not believe it. Now, this is what I'm talking about, guys. Now, that is an empty glue pen. Look at that. Talk about using it up to the last drop. Anyway, my favorite Christmas story or Christmas movie, Well, my favorite animated Christmas movie is Rudolph. I've always loved it ever since I was a kid. I even had the Toys R Us exclusive Rudolph Castle once when my younger kids were younger, or my older kids were younger. That thing has seen better days. I don't even have it anymore. Let's just say an ex-husband got in the way of that thing and it didn't survive. Anyway, I love Rudolph. My favorite family-oriented regular Christmas movie is Christmas Story. I have a leg lamp. I have a leg lamp cookie cutter. I have a leg lamp ice cube tray. I love Christmas Story. I even have Ralphie in his bunny costume as an ornament. Anyway, and my favorite adult Christmas movie is The Ref. And if you have never seen The Ref with Dennis Leary and you like those types of movies, you need to watch it. It is the funniest movie, and I watch it every single year. I even own it on DVD. Just love it. Love, love, love it. Okay, so I got my sentiment on. We're going to see if this is close to being dry yet, guys. It's still a little tacky. All right, so we're going to do our lacquer pen and our extra fresh snowfall Nuvo drops. And then I'll show you the other cards, and then hopefully it'll be time to put our little snowdrift on there. And then we'll be done. And it looks like I can keep it under 45 minutes. Let's see, guys. All right, so I'm gonna do the top, the green part of his hat with the Hero Arts lacquer pen. You could use anything, glossy accents, Nuvo crystal glaze, anything you want. You could do the brim, puff brim part of his hat instead of the green. I mean, it's all about what you want. You know what? I'm gonna do the scarf on him. I didn't do it on any of the other guys, but I think I'm gonna do it on him and see how it looks. And that's so narrow, there's nothing really to outline, so I'm just filling it in and moving my way down. I also did the wreath on the other guys. I just went that, kind of following along with that little bit of coloring I put in there. And then I'm gonna do the presents. Just what you can see. You don't have to try squeezing it underneath the baby. We're gonna leave the baby alone and just do his box. And the top of his box. And that's it for the lacquer pen. I'll show that to you. You can see it on the presents better, and the hat better than you can see it. Oh, there it is on the wreath. Okay, so we've got that. Now we're gonna do, there was no rhyme or reason to where I put the fresh snowfall. I just wanted it to look like snow that was popping off of the page. Now I put a shadow there, so I'm not gonna give him too much snow. I'm just gonna put a little bit behind him. And I'm just pulling out two thin lines and maybe smushing a little bit in between there. And I'm using the nozzle to kind of brush it around, smooth it out. I don't want it too puffy. And I'm going to put a little bit on this side behind him. And then, of course, you have to cover up that line you cut into the rooftop paper. So I'm going to start at the very edge of the paper. Make sure I cover up the pencil dot. And make sure you cover up that razor line. And I drew another line down from that, and that's it. I'm gonna keep it simple. Now all my mistakes in that, and I still got a little less than half a bottle left of the stuff, so it definitely lasts. All right, so we're gonna let that dry a minute in the snowdrift before we put it on there. I will show you the other cards in the set. So we've got this card. Excuse me. They're all they're all drying on the kitchen table, so I'll give you close-ups of each one, and I'll have to put them back. They're all different colors. They have different accessories. Now you can see if you go too far up, even though I protected the chimneys, you can still see a little tinge of orange there. On some of them I left it alone, like it looked like you were looking through the snow, but that I'm gonna have to fix. I have tried acrylic paint, I've tried a white gel pen. They both work, it just looks different than the glitter. So you gotta keep that in mind when you're doing that technique. And we got this guy with his glittery candy cane and his little buddy down there on the rooftop. And we've got this little guy with his stack of presents and his one that popped open. All right, let me put these over there and I'll grab a couple more. And you've got that guy with presents out of the chimney. And this was one of the ones that started to turn orange. And you could tell I put some white gel pen on it. I'm gonna have to come up with another solution for that corner there on each side if I want to sell this card in the set. Otherwise, I'll just replace it with another one. And that guy was slipping and he dropped his present. I think this one's turned out really cute. We've got him again with his little buddy stacked on top of other presents. And we've got this guy with his scarf sticking over the chimney top. And then the last three are this guy and his little candy cane buddy. And these two. And these three. And now I'll show you the first two cards I made with this penguin set, and then I'll show you Lindsay's and Riley's cards. Just to give you an idea of what they're doing when they're hanging out with me. So I was watching Prairie Paper and Ink, and that's where I got the idea to buy this set because I thought it was so adorable. And she did a card similar to this. She did it in Christmas colors. She didn't do the die. I think she used a gift wrap die, I think it was called, from MFT. I don't have that. So in order to make something similar, I had to use my postage stamp infinity dies from Hero Arts and kind of plan out the squares, rectangles. And this is what I came up with. I like the color scheme, and this is that Snow Bunny ski resort paper, I think. I saw in another YouTube video recently, and I know it's discontinued. I got that at Hobby Lobby last year, and I just put Merry Christmas, and this one says Believe. And then the same night I made those, Miss Lindsay made this one, and I thought it turned out really super cute, and she wants me to give this one away to a runner-up in my next giveaway. So that was her masterpiece. And then Lindsay made this one last night. Have a Holly Jolly Christmas. Candy canes and hollies. She colored them all in. And then tonight, Lindsay made this one, and these were those elves I colored 20 of. She used some pattern paper, and she popped up her Lawn Fawn Christmas tree. And these were some glitter stickers and some gems. She heat embossed her sentiment, Merry Christmas, you're on my nice list. And Miss Riley made this one tonight. She's got her colored snowbanks, her Merry Christmas. She wanted that heat embossed in red. She colored her Christmas trees and wanted it popped up like her sisters. And she used some reindeer and llama and owl stickers and some trees and some presents and a snowflake, and then of course loads more elves inside. Okay guys, so I showed you all that. Let's put this on here. Oop, be careful where you touch. I think I can do this if I'm really super careful. It's set, but it's not super set. So we're going to use these non-stick scissors. And I also want to remind you, if you're doing those chimneys in Distress ink or Distress Oxide ink, you want to make sure you protect them with something so the color's not leaking onto anything you may add on top of them when you add them to the card. And as you can see, I still have not found a foolproof way to do that, because I'm still getting some leakage of the red-orange color on certain cards depending on how high up I put the glitter accents, and which is actually kind of disappointing because I don't want it to be like that, you know. I like using the... It's still wet, you guys. Hold on. You know what, guys? I mean, you understand where that's going to go. I'm going to leave it because I don't want to ruin the card for the set. I have some beautiful, wonderful ideas for the next video. So I will talk to you guys soon. I actually kept this under an hour, guys. You may actually be able to forward certain things. It was fun to make a card with you. We'll be doing it a lot more soon. Thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see and you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit that notification button for upcoming giveaways. There's going to be one in the next video. You guys have a wonderful week, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.